Hello and welcome to our second session on our AI Film Studio setup. We are going to configure a new machine for this application. Basically, the machine that I am going to show you is worth around 5 lakh. It consists of an Intel Core i9 285K 36 MB cache CPU. The motherboard used is Gigabyte Z890 UD. We have installed a liquid cooler master, 32 GB DDR4 RAM in 4 sockets, making the total RAM 128 GB. We then have a Samsung NVMe M2 1 TB hard disk, which we are going to use it as the system hard disk to install our default Windows. We have another 2 TB Samsung NVMe M2 hard disk. We are going to use this specifically for our AI production. Apart from these two, we also have a 8 TB SATA hard disk to store all our other content, and the main powerhouse of this entire system is the NVIDIA RTX 5070 Ti graphic card from Gigabyte. This is a 16 GB VRAM graphic card. With this entire setup, we are now going to start our configuration. Now I am in my RTX 5070 Ti machine. I have just installed my Windows operating system, and after the installation I will come into this Windows menu, click on settings, and I will come to Windows update, and I will click on check for update, and it is right now showing that you are up to date. So I will close this. Now the second thing is I will come into the search and I am going to type device manager. I will click open. This will show all the devices in my machine. All the device drivers are correctly installed. If you see a question mark in front of any of these device manager devices, it means that corresponding driver has not been installed. See which component doesn't have the driver, select the driver for this and update it. You see all the devices here without any question mark. This means that your system has all the drivers correctly installed. Now the third check we are going to see is what is my graphic driver version. Open your browser and come to nvidia.com website. Come into the drivers menu. You have manual driver search. I will select GeForce RTX 50 series. My card is NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5070 Ti. Version is Windows 11. I will click on find button. So this gets me the latest driver available for our AI Film Studio. We are going to make use of NVIDIA Studio driver. January 5th, 2026, I have the latest version 591.74. You can click on view here. If you want to install this, download it and start the installation. Right now, this latest driver has already been installed. I can close my browser. Again in the search, come to command prompt and click on run as administrator. I will type nvidia-smi and press enter. Now if you scroll up, your NVIDIA SMR driver version is 591.74. The most important thing is the CUDA version. This is very important for AI Studio. So we have the latest version 13.1. We have 16 GB of RAM. In the command prompt, type systeminfo and press enter. It is now going to collect my entire system information. So I will now come into this H, scroll down with shift pressed. In the last line after this displayed fully stop, I select everything now. Press Ctrl+C on your keyboard. Come into your computer and open any of the Word document or Notepad. I will open a Word document. Open a blank document. Press Ctrl+V to paste it. Come to file and save this. I will name it as my machine name, Shalavatsa_system information, and I will save it. Later on, when we download models from Hugging Face or Civit AI websites, sometimes if you want to know whether that model runs correctly on your system, you can upload this system information and find out whether that model is feasible on your machine. One very important factor here is if you scroll down, you can see here Hypervisor enforce code integrity. This is a service which we use for memory security purpose on Windows Enterprise version, and this act consumes about 3 to 8% of your GPU power, and for AI film studios it is always advisable to turn off this service. Now to disable this, I will again come into my command prompt and type bcd edit /set. I will call Hypervisor launch type everything in small letter, and I will use off. So these commands I have shared it in the Patreon page. If I press enter, the operation completed successfully. Now after running this command, you have to come into the Windows, click on the shutdown button here and restart your machine. Now once the system reboots, I will come into command prompt, right click and choose run as administrator, and if I run systeminfo again, Hypervisor enforce code integrity is still running here. Sometimes if this happens and by command line if it is not getting removed, then you can close this command prompt, come into Windows, come into settings, move into privacy and security, come into Windows security, and you have here device security. Click on the device security. You have core isolation here. Click on core isolation detail and you have memory integrity. Switch off this memory integrity. If I close Windows security, I will come into Windows and I am going to restart it. Now after restart, I will come and search again for command prompt, run this as administrator. I will type systeminfo and press enter. If you scroll down, the services running, you have only credential got. Close this command prompt. And regarding our NVIDIA graphic, we have to carry out some tweaks. So for that, I will come into the system tray. You have the NVIDIA settings icon. Right click on this and you have NVIDIA control panel here. Click on this NVIDIA control panel. On the left hand side, click on manage 3D setting. And in the global setting, scroll down and you have power management mode, which is set to normal. Click on this and change it to prefer maximum performance. You have CUDA system fallback policy. You click on this driver default here and choose prefer no system fallback. This is because if VRAM fills up, because we have only 16 GB, it easily fills up. Then Windows offloads the data to your standard RAM, which is DDR4 or DDR5, which is 10 times slower. This setting forces the application to stay in fast VRAM or error out, ensuring you get maximum speed rather than a crawling system. Another setting we have to do here is if you come to shader cache size, select here and you have a list here, set this to unlimited. Setting this to unlimited speeds up the load time of models like stable diffusion checkpoints that requires shader compilation. Now with this setting done, I will click on apply. Now I will close my NVIDIA control panel. One more setting that we have to check is, I will come into Windows, settings, come into the system, I will come into display. Scroll down and come to graphics, optimize for windowed game. This option, see that this is switched on. And in advanced graphics setting, hardware accelerated GPU scheduling, see that this is set to on. Now I will close this Windows settings. I will come into Windows and I am going to restart it. As it restarts, press function 2 or your del button depending on your motherboard and then come into the CMOS BIOS. Here come to advanced mode and you have settings. Select IO ports and in the list see that this resize bar support is enabled. Also see that Intel Virtualization Technology VTX or Intel VTD is enabled. Save the setting and restart the system. Once the system restarts, come again into device manager and if you come into disk drive, you can see my machine has 1 TB SSD NVMe hard disk and another 2 TB NVMe hard disk. One 1 TB hard disk, we are going to use it specifically for Windows installation, and this 2 TB hard disk will be used for our AI Studio application and also for Windows subsystem for Linux. I will close the device manager. If I open my Explorer and if I come into the control panel, in category I will choose small icon and come here into Windows tools, and if I double click on computer management, you have disk management. My C drive, this contains my Windows installation, another hard disk Shala D, which is around 2 TB, where we are going to store all our AI related content. I will close this computer management and also the control panel. Coming back to my Explorer, I will now come into my PC and open my D drive. I will right click and I am going to create a new folder called AI Studio. All my Film Studio content will be stored in this folder. Double click to open this, and inside my AI Studio I am now going to right click and I am going to create a new folder, and I am going to call this as models. Right click and create another folder, and I am going to call this as assets. Right click and I am going to create another folders, and I am going to call this as renders. Right click and I am going to create another folder, and I will call it as audio. Right click and I will create another new folder, and I will call this as projects. Right click and I will create new another folder, and I will call this as workflows. Right click and I will create another folder to carry all my Windows components. Right click and create my last folder here, which is WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux. So with this, we are going to conclude all our system configuration processes, and from our next session, we are going to start our installation process.